Senegalese soils by way of Curio. Rich, black soil brought to broken, stolen land in the Caribbean. My rhythms tills and fills the lands and mix with blood spilled by French hands. Senegalese soils by way of Curio. The natives of this land bled, and like me, they still bleed from the penetration of the Frenchman's greed. African essence forced upon, a rape on Guadeloupe soils to advance the Frenchman's spoils. Senegalese soils by way of Curio. Sweet, sweet Guadeloupe. Your pain is entangled with my own. Every rip, every tear, every scream, and painful moan. Phallic French invasions pursues and overpowers me. His lust, armed with white man's dominance of entitlement, ensnared inside of my 15-year earth. I planted the seeds to which gave birth to the greatest gift on December 25th. My god of arms was conceived. His only sin was his skin, for was the hue of Senegalese. Senegalese soils by way of Curio. Mulatto, mulatto, where will you go, mulatto? Joseph Bologne, born December 25th, 1745. His father, George de Bologne, was a gentleman of the royal court, a wealthy planter, husband, and owner of 60 slaves. I was one of them. My name is Anne, but they call me Nemo. But the greatest God-given title I ever had was... Anyways, you are not here to hear about Nemo. You are here for the name on the marquee. Joseph Bologne de Chevalier de Saint-Georges. We begin. Welcome to Bali Faster, on the beautiful island of Guadeloupe, where the natives were destroyed, Africans enslaved, but the French were well fed. But let's investigate the flowing waters of Guadeloupe and see the beginnings of a great man-to-be. Life on Guadeloupe was hard for most and easy for the very few. And compared to the others of African descent, I believe I fell into the category of the very few. And young Joseph had a very privileged life on that plantation as well. I watched him run so fast and play and laugh until the tears formed in his eyes. I cared for him deeply, very deeply. Master George gave that boy everything, even his own name, de Bologne Saint-Georges. Master George claiming Joseph as his son was a thing that was frowned upon and even hated, because the child wasn't birthed from Master's wife. I always wondered, what was so special about this child? After a while, I just accepted it as a blessing for the both of us. Master George wanted Joseph to have the best education, and in 1754, Master George's wife Elizabeth and young Joseph sailed for France. I longed to reconnect with Joseph. My longing was answered when the following year I arrived in France with Master George. Oh, I'm sorry. He was no longer Master George. He was George. Just George. In 1756, 13-year-old Joseph entered the fencing academy of Nicolas Texier de la Boissière, an elite boarding school for the sons of the aristocracy. He excelled and studied mathematics, history, foreign languages, music, drawing, and dance. Afternoons were devoted to the most important subject, fencing.
Bien, bien.
Labossiere taught him to meet adversity heads on, never move backwards. Every step forward means something, to never be complicit in his actions.
Très bien. Très bien, très bien. On garde, comme ça. Un, plus haut. Ah, très bien. Marche, marche, marche. Poussez le poing, on garde. Poussez le poing, on garde. Poussez le poing, point debout, on garde. Poussez le poing, point debout, on garde. Poussez le poing.
Lunge and strike. And strike again, and again, again, until your opponent submits to your will.
On garde, très bien, très bien. On garde. Je commence, je me sors. Ne recule pas. Ne recule pas. Suivez-moi.
These instructions will become the blueprint for challenges yet to come. But everybody, even Joseph, needs a little help when practicing these words and putting them into action. And sometimes it's only when our backs are against the wall are we forced to execute what we've learned in order to move forward.
Très bien, très bien. Exactement, exactement.
Joseph's swordsmanship became world-renowned, and because of his amazing skill, he became the officer of the King's Guard, Le Chevalier. Even the racist Alexander Picard was forced to yield to Joseph's greatness. Yes, his swordsmanship was good, but Joseph's was greater.
Where is this mulatto of Labossiere? Afraid to come, is he? most.
Joseph became known as the god of arms because of his amazing abilities with the rapier. But deep down inside of this man, there was a melody playing, music that would change the world.
In 1778, Joseph Bologne, Chevalier de Saint-Georges, was an artist in residence, so to speak, at the Palace of Marie Antoinette in Paris. He also enjoyed a famous career as conductor, composer, and performer for one of the top orchestras in Europe at the time, the Concert des Amateurs. One of his signature trademarks in his writing and performing were his composition of very athletic and virtuosic, high-reaching passages for the violin. As you'll see in this upcoming excerpt, all of those things are at play. And just a year after 1778, Mozart was in residence as well at the palace for only a few months, but long enough to hear Chevalier's music. And you'll hear shortly that influence on Mozart.
The end of Mozart's Symphony Concertante in E flat sounds like this. And the St. George Concerto, Opus 5, number 2, has a passage that in E major goes. You see, there is a difference, it's half a tone higher. Mozart's in E flat and he's in E major. But they're identical and they're not typical passages used at the time.
Concert des Amateurs is the best orchestra for symphonies in Paris and perhaps in Europe. And now, the Paris Opera House was calling. They were in need of a director. But just as he was loved, he was also hated. Words written to the Queen in a letter from 3 women in the Parisian opera, and I quote, "Our honor and our delicate conscience could never allow us to submit to the orders of a mulata." Signed, Mademoiselle Arnaud, Guimard, and Rosalie. To save the embarrassment of the Queen, Joseph stepped aside. The position was never even filled. This opportunity was snatched from Joseph. Always move forward. Every step counts. Wait. Pardon. Do you see that billing there? Burn it. Burn that slanderous piece of paper. No, I'm so sorry. No flames, mon amour. We are in a church. A very old church with old wooden beams and expensive windows, and I don't think the fire insurance covers rage. But it angers me to think how they whitewash Joseph's brilliance. Don't ever call Joseph Bologne de Chevalier de Saint-Georges the Black Mozart. And did I mention that the ladies loved Joseph?
Is it true that you can swim in the Seine with only one arm?
I hear you are pretty good with your pistol, that you rarely missed the target.
Oh, Chevalier, people say that you are the fastest man in Europe. How will I ever keep
I've
up?
never dabbled in the dark pleasures of Africa before. Tell me, is it as amazing as it is rumored?
Oh, we've been invited to a dance.
Don Juan Noir, always the lover, never the groom. Mulattoes weren't allowed to marry. But rumor has it, there was one he did love. Marie Joseph, wife of an old, white Parisian general. Joseph swept her off her feet on the ballroom floor with his wit and charms. Marie and Joseph fell in love, and from that love, a baby was born. Joseph never had a chance to hold the child, to even ask to take his child away to be with him. The command of an angry husband sentenced that baby to be murdered, starved to death by the wet nurse.
Société des Amis des Noirs, Society of the Friends of Black People, the anti-slavery movement. This is where Saint Georges began to understand what was required of him for true freedom. He had to claim his drums. It was the drums, that Senegalese heart inside of his chest drumming away, leading the 1st Black Battalion, Légion de Saint-Georges, in the French Revolution. This was his finest hour. First time in his life, he was truly fighting for freedom. But even his loyalty to the rebellion and the blood on his blade, that was not enough. His ties to the aristocracy made him vulnerable to false charges of misusing public funds, a charge of treason. Colonel St. George, my son, was arrested on November 4th, 1793, and was imprisoned without trial. What could I, as his powerless, unknown mother, do? Don't let them take your drums, my child. Don't let them take your drums.
To the revolution. I have served since the beginning of the war with a tireless zeal that is undiminished by the persecutions I have suffered. There is a cost. A cost to my body, to my soul, to my mind. And I pay every time. Give away little pieces of myself to walk amongst you. I have given both sword and bow for your pleasure, and yet there is still a debt to be paid. me, what else do I owe you? My father, Joseph Bologne, brought me, a mulatto, here to you, Paris. If you wish to charge someone, charge him. But what would be your charge? That he loves the product of his infidelity with a slave girl? Why? Why would he do that? He dared to call me son. He can't even call me friend. Perhaps his mistake is found in his conceit. He tried to only change me for the better, not you. You fear a bronze man conquering all you have to offer, lifting you to the highest pinnacle of excellence. I ask again, what do I owe you? I owe you nothing. I have done nothing wrong. Evidence will show that. Égalité, liberté, fraternité! Yes, I heard just as loud, if not louder. I signed up for this. This revolution. Because I realized that it was you who needed changing, not me. For the first time, I did not feel alone. Friend Philippe. Philippe knew as well as I that there could be no change without sacrifice. And he had no to risk to lie. But we both knew the reward outweighed the risk. Now he is dead. Executed by the same men he advocated for. I listened to him scream for their mercy. Even denouncing his own family name could not change his fate. What mattered to these men was the royal bloodline. Is this all part of your game? To turn brother against brother. To have us tear each other apart over the slight differences. These are the same men with whom I fought side by side in order to overthrow your system of slavery and oppression. But now, the hunger for power has them taking up the oppressor's bloodthirst. Is that thirst has brought me here. Alexander Dumas' false accusations of my treason has put me here. The propaganda of Robespierre sentenced me to die. Day in and day out, I hear the slamming of the guillotine. Screeching of steel has replaced my violin. You never really saw me in Paris, did you? You celebrated me, but you were blinded by your prejudice. I have given you symphonies that put tears from your eyes. I defended your honor with my rapier. I pleasured your women and asked for nothing in return. It's a long time. The women love me. You took away the only masterpiece I created. Oh, child, was I the one that was blind? How dare I obey the laws of nature and break the laws of man, daring to love someone not of my race? You stop my child! Was it the jealousy of a husband? Or was it the color of his skin that was too shameful for you? If you did not want that sin, why did you give it to me? This foolish approach. I think you would give me anything and not ask for double in return. I thought that if I was high enough, you would accept me. Should I have stayed within my station? I had bread and meat and wine. These are mere morsels in comparison to true freedom. The freedom to walk down the street and not have to fear being slapped by the same hands which applaud me. To not be spat on by the same mouths that sing my songs. The freedom to love, to give love and have it returned equally. Should I be grateful? Because I danced in the fanciest balls where people of my complexion were not permitted to congregate. While I fought with a rapier, they were beaten for picking up a stick. Is that what you think I owe you, Paris? My gratitude for being a second-class citizen and not a slave. I fought to earn a space in a world that did not want me. And in that fight I realized all they had to offer was a mirage. Did I forget you, Guadeloupe? Mother, my people, I am happy to hear that slavery has been overthrown. Hopefully people that look like me will be protected by and not betrayed by your temptations, Paris. If I am to leave this earth, if my neck is to be met with a guillotine, so be it. I have lived. But none like you, Paris. God will not charge me for my entrance. I will not leave his earth empty-handed. I will take with me my bow and sword to play amongst the angels and fight against the demons. When the lightning strikes and the thunder rumbles, know it is my symphony to you.
Thank you guys for coming to see the show. She was here yesterday.
Thank you.